It is often said that the roof of the law covers us all. It applies to everyone, but it also protects everyone. Unfortunately, the concept, justice for all, for many of us, is a far cry from reality.
I had a dispute with the warranty company where my transmission had just broken down completely. As a result of that, I was instructed to take my car into the dealership and was told that the warranty company would have a transmission sent to be installed by the technician specialist. I did just that. I picked my car up, and guess what? The car didn't even make it home. In fact, it broke down on the roadside.
A few years ago, I had a situation where I had bought some airline tickets on the internet. The first page was, here's the price that the ticket is going to be, and I said, okay. And then the next email that I get said, this is what we're charging you. Well, it was $100 more than what they had said it was going to be.
I did some consulting work for telecommunications, and at one point, one customer decided that they don't want to use my services anymore, and that was perfectly okay. It happens. So I sent him a bill for the remainder of the amounts that he owed me. He said he wouldn't pay it. And I called him and said, well, why aren't you paying for the $1,500 that you still owe me? I rendered my services already. He says, well, because we're not working anymore, and I just don't want to pay.
Well, we had a company calling our house threatening us over $92.20. They said that my wife Tracy had ordered a product that we had never ordered before. And so eventually they threatened to send our name to a collection agency over $92.20.
Ladies and gentlemen, your host for this unique and dynamic show is the former four-term Attorney General of the great state of Mississippi, a man who started the movie The Insider, playing himself with Russell Crowe. My friend and your advocate, Attorney General Mike Moore.
I'm Mike Moore. Over the course of today's program, we'll discover how the promise of justice for all has been broken and what we can do to mend it. The phrases lawsuit and legal situation tend to evoke thoughts of serious crimes, the high-profile celebrity cases that are constantly flooding our airwaves, or large corporations fighting for ownership. I was personally part of one of these high-profile cases not too long ago. In 1994, as Attorney General of my state of Mississippi, I filed the first case against the tobacco industries of this country. I'll never forget the fact I showed up at the first time we had a court hearing, and there were 68 lawyers on the other side for the tobacco industry, and we had 3 lawyers on our side. So I know what it feels like to go into court against all odds. Even the governor of my state filed a lawsuit with the tobacco companies against me to stop me. Well, determination and a lot of help from all the attorneys general in this country resulted in about a $250 billion settlement for all the states. I tell you that story to tell you how important it is for us to be here today talking about prepaid legal services. Because it's important that people have access to the courts, whether it's a big case or your case that may not be so big, but is just as important to you.
I called the provider law firm, who responded immediately. And this goes to show you that just by having an attorney to write a letter, which is what my attorney did, to the warranty company and got immediate results.
I called Prepaid Legal to find out what I could do about it, and they said, just send us the information that you've gotten from this company. They sent a letter to the company, which with the return receipt. Within 2 days, I got the return receipt back, and the money was in my account.
What I did is I called my prepaid legal attorneys, and what they did is let me write a letter for you. So they wrote a letter for me, and in about 35, 40 days, I had a check for $1,500.
If I didn't have prepaid legal, I would have never called an attorney at $200 an hour for a $92 problem. But because we have prepaid legal, we called the law firm. The attorneys wrote a cease and desist letter that says you must cease and desist all contact with our client pursuant to the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. I mean, the letter scared me. I almost wrote myself a check for $92. But of course, we had prepaid legal write that letter. We've never heard from that company again.
These are testimonials received from real people facing real-life issues. The testimonials were given by people who own a life events legal plan from Prepaid Legal Services Incorporated. Prepaid Legal is a New York Stock Exchange company that has been providing legal service plans for over 30 years.
I was part of a local festival, performing a play with a volunteer army, more or less. You know, it wasn't anything that we were getting paid for. We were doing it for the fun and for the love and being a part of the festival. And the folks that were putting this on, the production, this play, they, through a sequence of events and as time went on, we discovered they were pretty morally not, they were questionable morally and ethically. And by the time we got to the end of the rehearsal period, myself and a few other people stepped down from the production and said, we're not going to, you know, take any more. We apologize, but we're going to separate ways, and good luck to you. Well, long story short, I received a letter a few months later saying you owe a debt of approximately just under $5,000. And of course, at that point, that got my attention. So I immediately called the attorneys here at the law firm and said, you know, what can we do about this?
The attorneys here then sent off a letter of dispute and said, don't bother Mr. Newell regarding this. This is not a valid debt. After about, I think, 8 months, he was served with a summons, and then at that point, the lawsuit was referred to myself.
We attempted many times to settle. We went through mediation, and Mr. Zielinski advised the plaintiff, said, look, you have a tenuous case at best. You know, let's make an offer. Let's settle this.
As the case progressed, the other side was very difficult to work with. They filing multiple motions, rejecting settlement or offers that were made very early on in the case, had a mediation because the matter was in small claims court, and at that mediation, even though Mr. Newell wasn't responsible for this debt, he did make an offer of settlement to avoid the expense and the time involved in a lawsuit. That was rejected by the other side, and the case progressed.
2.5 years later, I received a judgment in my favor for about $3,360, something like that. So it was a great learning process, but as far as the membership, it proved how invaluable it is. It's where would I have gone if I didn't have it? And then as far as how I was treated, the attorneys and everybody here, the staff, everybody that I've worked with, it was almost like I was on a first-name basis, so it was very, very comfortable and very nice, and it made the process much easier. So I recommend it.
We've discovered that most people who do not have access to legal counsel will simply accept their circumstances and go on. When the credit card company charges unfair fees, when your cell phone service provider is unreasonable, or when an invoice is higher than quoted, what can we do but pay and go on? You see, it's not about whether you absolutely have to have an attorney in some cases. It's about whether having an attorney could make a difference by empowering you to make better decisions, resolve conflicts, and have peace of mind.
Once you're in the system, I think that the playing field is fairly level. The problem is getting into the system. Those with money, with businesses, with large estates, they usually they have lawyers, and they use them regularly. And if they have a legal problem, why, they have immediate access to representation. People of moderate means or the indigent are those that are most impacted. An individual who may be earning $50,000 a year with a family of 4 to support, there's just not any money left over to finance a serious legal problem. Prepaid Legal, through this mechanism that has been developed, is they're making legal representation possible for persons of moderate means